screen. We give a nice little round of applause. Tim, welcome on screen. Nice to meet you. I'm Brett. It's a pleasure.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
So yeah, kind of like you were saying, I'd love to go through some of these packs, given your knowledge, being in the field for so long, being in the analyzing and stats and all this stuff. We'll go through some of these packs, as lucky as we are to have you. And if you have anything unique or cool from any of the years past, all the years you've been doing it.
Right. All right, well, I'll tell you a story that's not going to resonate because you're way too young. But when I was a kid, we used to collect baseball cards, and we'd go down to the Shoreham Hotel in Washington, D.C., and get our cards signed by the players because they were all wandering through the halls. So I go up to Bert Campaneris. At least I thought it was Bert Campaneris of the A's, and I'm like 8 years old. So I say, Mr. Campaneris, can I have your autograph? And he says, I'm not Bert Campaneris, but I'll sign your autograph. I'll sign it anyway. And it was Harry Belafonte, who was even bigger than Bert Campaneris. Awesome. So you always have to be careful to get the right guy. In this case, I got the wrong guy, but I got the right guy.
VIP family, you hear it. 8 years old, guys. 8 years old. Tim has been on like MLB Network, ESPN, all the stuff for, I mean, how many years have you been?
This is spring training number 45.
That's absolutely incredible. So congrats, 45 man. Spring trainings, guys, but it started well before that, just 8 years old, just like you, just like me, and just like Rip and Ruben, we've all been into it for a long time. So.
Right, and I didn't collect cards, I played with the cards. We played touchies like this, where you throw it out there, if it lands, and then you throw it and you land on top of it, you win those cards.
Have you learned about how that works nowadays, though?
I don't. How does it work now?
So everything with the condition and quality of the cards is half the battle now.
Right.
So having a player's card in like a really nice peak condition is like a rare thing to have nowadays. So people are always going to be chasing that perfect conditioned card. Well, so you won't see that anymore. That's
right. Well, I'd probably be a billionaire now if I kept all my cards in good condition. But again, it was our job back then to play with the cards.
Awesome.
That was the really fun part.
That is awesome. Real quick though, before we get back into it, and I know some of the chat, some of the questions, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to punch in the chat if you guys want to ask anything in particular. We had, my dad did the same thing with his cards in the 50s. I could read some of them too. We got a bunch of wows in here.
Right.
Timmy. Everyone's super excited. Mr. Harold Reynolds was requested earlier. How funny is that?
Oh my God.
So we got a bunch of chats. So guys, any questions you might have for him, feel free to ask. But let's just keep going. If you've ever have you ever been part of this process before?
This is called ripping.
This is called ripping, yeah.
These are all
so basically, I'm just ripping open this.
He doesn't even know what it means. My son is 30. He knows all about ripping. And I just learned what that meant the other day.
You just saw what it's from, right? I just ripped the bag open and now I'm a ripper, right?
Very good.
So the way the Bowman works is you're going to get, and we got a little color right there, as you can see. The first half, like right to here, these are all paper cards.
Right.
So these, we could do the Timmy special with, and grab them and kind of hit them with a little, hit them out of the way. Because now these chrome cards, instead of paper, are going to be where the value is.
Okay.
So if we hit maybe one of the good players that we recognize, it could be worth some cash if it's a good player. So here's not a bad prospect, Shea Langeliers for the ATL, so that's a nice one.
Right.
And we got some color coming up, so hopefully it's a nice one. Could be something juicy. New York Yankees, looks like a pitcher by those eyes. We'll see what happens. So Clark Schmidt gold, number to 50. You can kind of see right there, right? 9 out of 50. So something of this caliber would be absolutely insane if it was one of the big players. There's only 50 of these cards made, right?
Is that right?
Yeah, this particular card, there would only be 50 made. That's why, and this would be the 9th one made.
Right. Well, Clark Schmidt, as we know, really came on last year.
Absolutely.
Got off to a difficult start in his major league career, but by the end of last year, they realized this guy's a major league starting pitcher. That's one reason they traded for Juan Soto and gave up Michael King, who's really, really good, because they thought Clark Schmidt has a chance.
Well, and I'm happy you just brought up Juan Soto as well, because this is a really good example of how the prospects have such a big pull, like in the farm systems and the overall value of some of the teams. Because when he got traded from the Nationals to the Padres, there were like 3 guys in that trade that some of these people have never heard of.
Right.
James Wood and names like that, who are top prospects in some of these older Bowman sets. People don't even know who they are when they see them get traded.
So James Wood's dad is Kenny Wood, who went to the University of Richmond, played at the same time that Sean Casey played baseball there, Kenny Wood played basketball. And I played basketball with Kenny Wood for years. And he used to bring his son in to shoot around with us when he was 5 years old. And he said, "This is my son James. He's going to be a good basketball player, but he wants to be a baseball player."
Yeah, look how tall he is, right?
Right, and now 15 years later,
Call him
he's
the Slenderman.
one of the best prospects in the game. He's 6'6", and he can run like a deer.
Run like a deer, exactly. And just the paper cards on the front and on the back. But as you can see, so like some of the bigger names that are in here, so you might recognize a few of them, like Reese Hines is a cool one. We've actually had him on stream. He's like a big Baseball of America guy. He's part of all those lists.
Right.
Jonathan India is a cool one.
Right. So Jonathan India, I did
Florida Gators.
I did something on. I had the all-country team in the history of baseball. So there was a guy named Bud Poland was the catcher, and I've got a guy, Derek Holland, Mark Portugal. So Jonathan India was the second baseman on the all-country team that I came up with.
Nice.
So I asked him about his unusual name, and he told me that people come up to him all the time and say, Are you from India? And
goes, man, just off the last name?
No, it's just
look
my
at him.
name.
Does he look like it?
He said, "I'm from Florida. I'm not from India."
So funny story is he actually went to high school about 15, 20 minutes away from where we all went to high school. So he went to American Heritage Del Rey.
Right.
We're all out of Boca. So we're share borders with him.
Right.
And then he went to UF. We're all big FSU guys.
Right.
So big rivalry there. So we weren't rooting for him, but now as he's made his way up, we're definitely
my dear friend Eduardo Perez, who I'm doing the games with this week, went to Florida State, so he was telling me forever. Wait till you see Jonathan India swing the bat.
Well, you let him know you were hanging with the Tally Boys. He'll know exactly what you mean. He'll know exactly what you mean. You were hanging out with the Tally Boys. He knows exactly what you mean. If he went there, he'll know exactly what's up.
Right, okay.
So guys, let me know if any of you guys have any specific questions, but here's some of the chats, so much knowledge. He recognizes all of them. What are some of the most exciting, let's see. What are some of the more exciting things that are going to be happening this year during spring training was one of the questions, if there was anything that stands out.
Well, I've been to the Dodgers 4 times this spring. Now, I understand this is the most obvious storyline there is.
Let's hear it.
But the Shohei Ohtani, on that team, joining Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, I'm telling you, we have a chance for those 3 to be the 3 greatest players in the history of baseball to hit 1, 2, 3 in the order.
Oh man,
in a season. I've done all the research on this.
What would your order be there?
Well, I would go Mookie, Freddie, and Ohtani, but I would have all 3 of them up in the first inning no matter what. It drives me crazy when we put a guy 4th when we should hit him 3rd. I want Shohei hitting in the
textbook theory, right, is your best hitter is going to hit 3rd. That's the old school approach, though. They changed it up now.
I'm the old school guy. Now we have our best hitters hitting leadoff and 2nd, and I understand
Sometimes they drop them down to 9. They get the bottom of the order going.
Right, and I've also looked up, those 3 guys are all former MVPs. They all are under 35 years old, and they won an MVP in a 6-year span. I'm telling you, I've never seen, I've done the research on this, where any team has had 3 MVPs, like former MVPs, basically in their prime, all on the same team, all at the same time.
No doubt.
That's what's so exciting.
Super duper special.
Hey, I see you have a picture, if I may, of Jim Palmer there.
Of course, yes. So we just hit his auto.
Jim Palmer is one of my favorite people of all time. So Jim Palmer never gave up a grand slam in his major league career.
That's so cool.
And he pitched almost 4,000 innings. So I said, Cates, that's his nickname. I said, how close did you come to giving up a grand slam? And he took me through an inning in Cleveland in the 70s, and he could reconstruct the
he'd go all the way back.
But here's what he told me. He said, sometimes I'd walk a guy unintentionally with the bases loaded because I thought I might give up a grand slam. If I walked him and walked in a run, I thought, no worries, because I'm going to get the next guy out. So I looked up the number of guys that he walked with the bases loaded. There were 11 of them. I went to him the next day and I said, all right, Cates, I'm going to give you a list of players that has something to do with your career. So I started these names.
Testing the memory, though.
It's like Woody Held, Carlos May, Jack Bromerhammer, these guys from a million years ago. I get 3 names in, and he goes, oh, those are the guys that walk with the bases loaded.
He knew everyone.
He knew all of them.
So, guys, that's Jim Palmer he's talking about. So he saw the auto up on the stand. This is actually a similar number. So this is out of 40. So this particular card with the gold ink, 40 of them.
Right.
And JP XOK, you see with the Orioles, he owns the Orioles, so this is his card. So it just gets shipped off to him, and now he has the Jim Palmer auto in his collection. Just like Luis Robert going to Giant City and so on. I mean, some of these names you definitely know. Lou Bob's obviously a big one.
Right.
A-Rod.
Right.
Who doesn't know him?
Right.
Preguero's a new rookie, but some of the cool stuff.
So when I was in England last year doing the Cardinals-Cubs game, I had to walk through England interviewing people on the street in England and asking them, have you ever heard of Michael Kay, who was doing play-by-play? And I asked one guy, a bunch of people, have you ever heard of Alex Rodriguez? And about 10 of them said, I've never heard of him. The 11th guy goes, oh, I know A-Rod really, really well. Everyone knows Alex Rodriguez. Started his career with the Oakland A's. And I had to explain.
Did you just?
I let him go because he was on a roll. But then during the show, during the game, I explained that I met someone who loved to watch Alex Rodriguez when he played for the Oakland A's.
Yeah, exactly. What a stud he was with those A's.
Yes.
Am I right?
Out of all the years, what's the most interesting fact or something that you could share, from all the years that you've heard?
Well, there are so many bizarre statistics that are out there. There are a million of these that you have. There are a million of them, but Prince Fielder and his dad, Cecil Fielder, finished their careers with exactly the same number of home runs.
Wow, that is really cool.
319. What are the my father
I'm sure that's
was
the
a
only combo like that, right?
What? Yes, of course. What are the odds that a father and son follow each other that closely, hit a bunch of homers, and they finish with the exact same?
And I think Chad can agree with me. If you guys remember Prince, he definitely had more in the tank, and he obviously ran into a bunch of injuries and stuff at the end of his career. But I think he could have passed him if he just had just a year or two more of health. So.
Ryan Braun once told me that Prince Fielder is the strongest man he's ever seen in a major league
uniform. Hebrew Hammer.
And he said
my nickname for Ryan Braun. You like that one?
Yes. He said that one day Prince Fielder brought in a tape of him fighting like a sumo wrestler.
Man.
What?
And Prince is a beast.
Right.
He's
Prince Fielder,
normal human being.
And according to the guys on the Brewers, Prince Fielder threw the sumo wrestler across the ring.
That is awesome.
That's how strong he was. I asked him once, how much weight can you lift? And he went, well, whatever you got, that's what I can lift. I said, well, I need a number. He goes, there is no number. Just put it there, and I'll be able to list it.
That's awesome.
That's how strong Prince
So,
Fielder.
Chad, make sure you guys keep pushing them in here while we have them. If you guys want to know anything specific, type it in the chat, guys, and we can go ahead and ask them. But I do have one more question. So I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally. I grew up there for 15, 16 years. That was back when it was Jacobs Field, obviously before all the names and stuff. And we always, in our division, the Twins, Minnesota Twins.
Right.
Joe Mauer, when I was going to all the games, growing up, was obviously their starting catcher. And there was a stat I learned about Joe Mauer that blew my mind, and it started in high school. He only struck out one time for 4 years of varsity baseball in high school, and then it carried on to college where it was the same kind of thing, single digits, close to single digits. And then when he got to the big leagues, his first few years, I think he led the team in strikeouts. So I thought it was so cool and funny how he was zero strikeout guy, was super crazy in the top, in the beginning, but then clearly made his way to become one of the greatest. So my question is with that, what would you say would be the biggest adjustment guys like that are making? I mean, is it coaching around them that are helping them, or is it just a mental thing where someone can escalate so quickly? I mean, he was at the top, the bottom, the top, so I mean, he went through the ringer a little bit.
Right, well, I don't want to offend anyone who played high school baseball.
Of course.
Because I did, and I can tell you this, there is no comparison whatsoever between playing in high school and playing in the major leagues.
You guys hear that?
Right, and that, again, if you played in high school, God bless you, but when you go from high school to college, that is an enormous jump. When you go from college to pro ball, that is an enormous jump. And rookie ball to the big leagues they're all gigantic jumps. And we have to understand the different levels and how hard it is to get to the next level.
No doubt.
So Joe Mauer just completely dominated in high school. Then he gets to pro ball, and all of a sudden he says, everybody throws hard here. I was not used to this, so it happens to everyone. The reason he got through this is he was going to Florida State to play football.
Yep.
And he was an all-state basketball player in Minnesota. So I asked him once, how many points a game did you score in high school? He's the most humble guy in the world. He's, I was just a defensive specialist. I didn't score any points.
Rebounds.
I pushed him and I said, how many points did you score? He said, I scored 22 points a game.
So he was a bucket.
And he considered himself a defensive player.
That's
but
funny.
That's why he was a Hall of Fame baseball player, is he was such a well-rounded athlete. Football, baseball, basketball, which is why I tell all kids of any age, put your bat and ball down in November and go make the basketball team. It'll make you a better
Well,
baseball.
you got over 50 people in the live stream right now who probably have a ton of kids and stuff like that. So I hope everybody heard that, guys. Being a diverse athlete as a young kid, Tim just said himself, is a huge reason why he believes Joe Mauer is the legend that he become. Basketball, football, baseball.
And I don't know anything about football, but Patrick Mahomes, one of the reasons he's the best quarterback in football is because he was a baseball player and because he's a basketball player. So when you watch him make a pass with his left hand, it's because he's a point guard who has to learn how to throw that ball with his left hand. When you watch him throw from down here to make a pass to a wide receiver or a guy coming out of the backfield, it's because this is the movement of a shortstop throwing a ball from this angle.
Oh yeah, his sidearm throw, he's famous for it.
So to me, he's the best quarterback in football. But the biggest reason why is he's a basketball player and a baseball player. So it makes him a better
Make sure you're rounding your
player.
kids out, guys. Make sure your kids are playing multiple sports. That's the lesson learned here, guys, with Tim.
Look at Brady, baseball also. And Mahomes, same category.
Right. It's the common denominator of every great baseball player I've ever met.
CJ Stroud, all of them.
Multi-sport.
So we have a few questions in here now, if you still got a minute. How would you approach Judge and Soto in the same lineup? So you're Boone, you're Aaron Boone. Put yourself in his shoes. Because you had your 1 and 3 theory.
I'm going to hit Soto second on this team because arguably he's the best hitter in baseball because of the incredible plate discipline that he's had. He's got a career on-base percentage of 420.
Nobody better.
Nobody, and he had this at 19 years old. So I would hit him second, I would hit Judge third, and this way Judge comes up all the time with a runner on base because Soto's on base all the time. That's how I would do it. Instead of Judge 2, Soto 3, I would go Soto 2, Judge 3.
They have the depth where they could even move like Volpe up there, and they have so many guys.
So many options.
Rizzo needs to be figured out in there.
This was a subpar offensive team last year, and now Soto changes the complete look of that lineup. Now they can do things they couldn't do before because their on-base percentage as a team last year was 307.
Yeah,
his career is 420.
And they just boosted the best guy,
Exactly.
Awesome. What would you say basketball helps most with baseball players? Obviously, if you don't know fully, that is okay. If you just had to say just the conditioning of basketball.
The conditioning is great, but the hand-eye coordination is great, but mostly it's the footwork of basketball players that allows you to be an even better baseball player. You can't play in the NBA, you can't play basketball at a high level without great feet. And if you're going to play somewhere in the middle infield, you better have great feet. And that's what basketball will do for you. It will get you in great shape, it will improve hand-eye, and it'll really improve your feet. And without feet, you're not playing in the big leagues.
We actually just got reminded too, Adley Rutschman was a kicker at Oregon State, which is another, he played football and he's one of the best. His footwork, the catching and all that stuff. And remember boys, in the MLB, the exit velocity is like 100 miles an hour and over in the infield. So like you see a ball on the ground, that thing is rolling at over 100 miles an hour. So even though it's not in the air, it could still, like I'm a long-time baseball player myself, you know, the hops and the speed will eat you up every day.
I tell people every day, I would love for you to stand even with third base. Just in one major league game and let Gary Sheffield or somebody from today whistle one past the year. You will have a new appreciation for the speed of the ball. And the speed of the ball is the game changer in baseball.
All right, so a few more. Favorite player right now and favorite player of all time?
Well, my favorite player of all time is Walter Johnson.
Cool.
Because I went to Walter Johnson High School, named after the greatest pitcher of all time. I'm going to use that. Cal Ripken, as far as my favorite that I ever covered, is Cal Ripken because...
Did you get him during the streak and all?
I covered him as a beat guy, and I covered him all during the streak. I wrote all the stories for Sports Illustrated.
That's awesome.
When he broke the Gehrig record, I could tell you hours and hours of stories. I can just tell you he's the most observant, most analytical player I've ever seen in my life.
Look what he's done with youth baseball today, too.
He has changed youth baseball.
Yeah, everything.
He can see stuff that no one else can see. My favorite player today, it's way too hard to tell, but we've kind of lost track of him in a way. But Mike Trout is still I just love him so much for this respect. He's just a baseball player. He doesn't want any other publicity.
Just a kid from Jersey.
There's so many other things that he likes. So Raul Ibanez was with...
Love Raul.
Right, Raul
he bounced around.
Right. He told me that he played for the Angels, of course, and during batting practice once, Mike Trout said, I'm going to hit a home run into that trash can out there on the left center field fence in Tempe.
That's incredible.
It wasn't a dumpster. It was one of those green trash cans. And about 11 pitches later, he hit a home run into the trash can. And Raul told me he did it a couple more times that spring.
So what do you think,
I
like,
go to
what
Trout and I
you
say, Mike, that's impossible. Nobody could do that. And finally,
Impossible.
and he said, no, and then finally I said, did you hit it in the trash can? He goes, yeah, I hit it in the trash can. They also used to play this game. Ibanez invented this game during BP, that if you hit a ball that hits the screen and like behind second base, you get 1 point. If you hit the screen over there, you get 3 points. And they play this game, and the first time they play, Ibanez beats Mike Trout in this game 5-3. And Mike Trout is pissed that he lost in this ridiculous makeup game. So the next day he comes in and he goes, we're playing that game again
Run it
today.
back.
And Ibanez goes, no, I don't want to play. And Trout said, we're playing. And in that second day they played, Trout beat him 40-4.
Oh my God.
40-4 because he was so angry that he had lost in this pointless makeup game.
Imagine even throwing a ball into a tub like that. I mean, you see like in the NFL Pro Bowl, they have to like bounce back and try to like, I mean, that would take, so like that would take me 100 tries. So the fact of actually hitting a baseball now and it's going to be
impossible.
Like that,
And
impossible.
in the scoreboard at Fenway Park, there's a hole in the scoreboard there that has no purpose, and it's only slightly bigger than the circumference of a baseball. And I'm told that Trout, for years when he'd go to Fenway, would stand out in left field during batting practice and try to throw a ball through the hole in the scoreboard. You know why?
Insane.
Because it was a competition, and everything is a competition to him. So he just wanted to see if he could throw a ball through that hole, and when he did, it was a big deal because another competition that he won.
Well, I just want to, a lot of legend comments in here, and a lot of boys definitely very excited, you know, just this guy's a legend, the greatest stories, has the best history knowledge. So I just want to let you know that everyone in the chat is really appreciating you coming on and telling some of the awesome stories that you've had. And I don't know how to thank you enough. All the boys and myself all loved having you in.
Well, it's my pleasure.
It was a pleasure meeting you, and thank you so much for coming in.
Can you hook us the Kodak so we get a photo of you two?
This guy?
Yeah, we gotta, for the keepsakes.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Of course.
Do this way. And then vertical too. I could have listened to that all day.
I think the chat agrees.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks.